Today we've got a great story of revenge involving a gas pump. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, be a jerk at the DMV? Bummer that he didn't get the cool license plate you wanted. When I was young, I worked at the DMV in an attempt to crush my soul enough to join the corporate world. One of the only joys of being in that place was the occasional funny or cool license plate that randomly showed up. Our state had a basic 3+3 pattern, 3 random letters and numbers, followed by a space to allow the state logo to appear, then 3 more letters or numbers. Every morning I'd flip through the stack of plates on my station, looking for things like JMSBND or MTL ICA. Not actual plates, although they're close to a couple I did hand out. We all did. Every time we found a really good one, it was the highlight of the day. Something to share with coworkers and bring up at the dinner table when we got home that night. One day, a dude made it to the front of the queue of misery just as I finished up with a customer. I was about halfway down the line of stations and yelled the standard, "I can help you down here," at him. For some unknown reason, this pissed him off. He walked up to the nearest station and yelled back, "Why can't you help me down here?" and then spent approximately 3 times the amount of time it would have taken to process his registration, arguing with me about why I had to help him there instead of at my station, because apparently the long hike was just too much for him. Eventually, for the reasons I can't understand myself, I gave up and schlepped on over to where he was standing. He was a total sourpuss the entire time too. Couldn't understand why it took me so long to get set up and log in. Every question got a sarcastic response. Like, probably, but not actually. This was a while back. "Are you a state resident?" "Why the freak would I be registering a car here if I wasn't?" "Yeah, I know the DMV is hex antechamber, but you don't have to make it any worse than it actually is." Did it make him feel manly to mess with some random 19-year-old girl whose job could have been done by a vending machine in the mall? So as I'm filling in the form on that 1970s era green screen terminal, I noticed the next license plate on the stack. It's a doozy. For the life of me, I can't remember what it was exactly. There were so many silly ones, they all blend together. But I do remember that it was cool and almost naughty. He sees it too. He's standing there staring at it like a kid about to get the biggest lollipop in the candy store. The petty revenge. So I make the briefest of eye contact, casually move the cool plate to the bottom of the stack, and key in the numbers and letters from the boringly mundane next one. I could see the gears turning in his head. Does he complain? If he does, he's going to sound like a total baby because he didn't get the plate he wanted. Am I going to charge him extra for a custom plate if he asks me for it? But no, he just fumes silently as I finish up. I don't really remember walking out to his car to verify the VIN, but I like to think I strutted just a little. How much you guys want to bet that this license plate had some combination of some funny word and probably the numbers 6 and 9? Honestly, the story really appeals to me because when I'm out in traffic, I always am looking at license plates to look for cool or funny ones. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy awesome stories of revenge, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, I unpaired all of his socks. About 1.5 years ago, my mom was married and had filed for divorce from an abusive, narcissistic jerk. I was helping her move out. The least violent, inconvenient, annoying thing I could think of to do to this man was to unpair all of the socks in his drawer and unfold a new of his clothes in his drawers. As we were leaving, I heard rustling in an air vent. I took the vent cover off and found a wedge of onion in the vent. My mom was suffering substantially from COVID with parosmia, where onion made her nauseated and literally throw up. I then took all the vent covers off and found more onion wedges in 2 other vents, totaling 3. I then took his post-it notes and wrote freak you, and sick jerk, and put those in the air vents so that when he moved in and went to remove the onion he knew he put there, he would find my notes, and that jerk would know that I knew what he did. Honestly, I guess you can't say that this would be necessarily harming her health, but I mean, it's definitely going to be damaging them mentally and probably physically to some degree when they keep smelling onions, making her throw up. At what point does it actually become something that you can be charged for? This next story is parking revenge. I work at the same place as my sister. It's a very large building and you can park in the back, front, or the side parking lot. There are over 700 people that work in the building and we're divided into different office units. The unit I work in is on the same side of the building as my sister's, and we both park in the side parking lot since it's closer to our office. The building is open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Before COVID, I always worked 6 to 2:30 p.m. for years. Because I worked so early, I always got the best, closest parking spot in the side lot, again for years. Then when COVID happened, I worked from home for 2 years. This is about A. She works in the same unit as my sister. While I was working from home, A started parking where I did since she didn't have the option to work remotely. She parked there until mid-2022, which is when everyone had to come back to the office. I once again parked in the spot where I always parked because I'm always there first. Well, my first day back, A complains to my sister how someone took her spot. She doesn't have an assigned spot. My sister already knew she was talking about me since she always sees my car there and knows A has been parking there. A went off ranting about how someone had the nerve to park in her spot, again not assigned, and my sister said nothing. She was upset because she got there early at 5:55 a.m. and someone took her spot. I guess she thinks no one parks until the exact time they're supposed to be at the office. My sister tells me about this. I don't like A for a lot of reasons. She's like a Karen for one thing. She also does less than the bare minimum, so everyone else in that unit has more work to do to pick up the slack. My sister mostly, and A had even taken my sister's work and took credit for it. What did I do? I leave home even earlier the next morning. I usually leave at 5:30 and would get there at 5:50. I left at 5:25 and got there at 5:45. A had complained again how she'd got there even earlier and someone was parked in her spot again. My sister tells me about A's plan to leave even earlier the next day, so I leave even earlier too. The next day I got there at 5:40. I don't mind leaving earlier because there is less traffic. If she didn't make such a big deal about it being her spot, I wouldn't care. I mean, parking one car over isn't making you walk that much further, but still. I don't want her to park there because of her entitled attitude and, well, mostly because I know it bothers her, so there's more. I usually have a lot of doctor appointments. I typically like going in the morning and coming to work afterwards. Instead, I started scheduling all my appointments in the afternoon so I could park in that spot before A. But wait, there's more. I was then given the option of working from home a few days a week. I was told I could choose any days I wanted. At this point, A was also able to work from home a few days as well. So what did I do? I asked my sister which days A comes into the office, so I made those my office days too. And if I need to be late for an appointment, I now schedule it in the morning on one of A's work from home days. It gives me great joy when I leave work and see her parked on the other side of me in her not parking spot. She still complains someone's been parking in her spot for over a year now. I really don't understand how she can keep continuing to complain about this. Like, how can you be so long-winded about this being your parking spot when it's never been assigned and you literally have no right to claim it? Our next story is being nice as a weapon. Grew up in a totalitarian dictatorship, and my dad taught me that being nice is a powerful defensive weapon and can also be very fun. At first, I didn't understand, but fast forward a decade and a half, a stint in a UN refugee camp, and now a life as a newlywed in a Western country, and I understood. As newlyweds, we moved into the suburbs and got a dog. A really, really great dog that was friendly and sweet, but a total mutt, and we walked him regularly. One couple in our neighborhood, nice-looking people, had two terrier-type dogs that looked like carbon copies of each other, except that one was standard size, about as tall as the average German Shepherd, perhaps taller but slighter built, while the other dog was a mini-me version of the big one. He walked the big one, she walked the little dog, and they were haughty to put it mildly. They would never reply to any neighbors who said hello to them as they walked by, unusual in our neighborhood, and they certainly were not going to permit our common mongrel to mix with their fancy dogs. So I ran an experiment of my dad's theory. Be really, really nice to them. Like, really nice. I wouldn't just say hello, I would smile, ask how they were doing in the mildest, kindest, gentlest ways, but consistently and persistently. After 3 to 4 months, they would acknowledge me, perhaps not with a greeting but with a nod. After 6 months, they would smile back, and eventually they would say hello to me. Victory was mine. But there's more. The couple moved out of my neighborhood, and I hadn't had contact with them for perhaps a year. Then I had a baby and started attending a mother and baby group where a nurse checks on the baby's growth and development, and moms with similarly aged babies let the little ones play and crawl while they, the moms, decompress and chat. No sooner had I sat down than a woman waved at me from across the room asking me to join her. Happy and smiling and showing me her baby and gushing over mine. It turned out to be that same lady of the haughty dog-walking couple. How awesome a petty revenge. I made her like me despite herself. I think if you go along just being an angel to somebody, and yeah, you continue being an angel every single day for 6 months around them, at some point they have to understand that you're treating them like Fred Rogers would and, open a little bit to them. Our next story is Monday's Petty Revenge. A few years ago, my ex and I decided to split. It was a hard breakup, but eventually I started to get over it and eventually moved on. However, even though I'd moved on, my ex and his best friend, let's call him John, never really did. To add to this, I was young and dumb when I started dating my ex, and so both my ex and John work with me. After the breakup, leadership at my work split my ex and me up and placed us in separate offices. However, they didn't know that John was living with my ex at the time, and John remained on my team. Therefore, John would constantly come up to me at work and excitedly say, "Hey OP, good morning. How's your day going? Mine's great." This would always annoy me because I never really liked John to begin with, and was only ever nice to him because he's my ex's best friend. Plus, it's fake. I know John enough to know that he was only doing it because he was getting under my skin with it, but we had to work together, and I was too nice and professional to tell leadership I had a personal issue with John. Therefore, John decided that if I wasn't going to complain, he was going to do what he could to stay under my skin. Then one day, I decided to get real high and meditate on the issue. Why did this bother me? Why does he keep doing it? Eventually, it hit me. John's just a bully, and getting under my skin makes him happy. So I have to stop letting him get under my skin. The next day, I got the drop on him. "Hey John, good morning. How's your day going? Mine's great." He tried to respond, but the look of pure confusion on his face, that I, of all people, would initiate a conversation with him and be so happy about it, blew his mind. It's the best victory I've ever gotten, but I didn't stop. I did it every time I saw him for as long as I could keep it up. I turned the tables so hard on him that I've watched as he walked out of his way just to stay clear of me. And there was nothing John could do, because we worked on the same team and I never reported him, so he couldn't report me. Plus, what was he going to report on? That I was being nice and asked him how his day was going? Eventually, I moved on to a different team, and while we still work in the same office, we are far more cordial towards each other. Yet every once in a while, when I see him preening about something dumb at work, I like to remind him that, "Nah dog, you ain't nothing yet, you can't even touch me." "Hey John, good morning, how's your day going? Mine's great." I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if I don't really know you and I haven't really connected with you, I don't know if I would be that receptive to that level of energy either. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't be a jerk. I would definitely be nice and polite to you, but I would be like, man, I just wish I had half the battery this person does. This next story is, ooh, piece of candy. When I was in high school, I had a backpack with a mesh pocket meant for a Nalgene. I'd put candy, the cookies the special ed class sold, or soda in it. Someone in school started walking alongside me and easing them out when I didn't feel it. I assumed they threw the soda away as a gag, but were eating the cookies and candy. One day I was looking for something in the medicine cabinet at home and saw something called Chocolax. It looked like it was older than me. I opened it and they were the exact size and shape of a Hershey Pip, the individually wrapped squares. They had the name stamped on the top, so I took a hot butter knife and smeared it like it was partially melted, ate the pips, and rewrapped the Chocolax. Left them in the mesh pocket over the next week. They eventually disappeared. I figured out who it was when they ran out of the classroom trying not to poop their pants. I don't know how successful they were. You have to imagine they tasted terrible. I don't know how many he ate. I think the only way that they would really stop after that, even though it went terribly for them, is the packaging that OP's putting in that mesh pocket, because even though the packaging changed, they would probably still try it again, even despite the fact that they had a bathroom accident. Our next story is eat my snacks, drink my juice, you'll be famous at the food bank. I, 28-year-old male, have always been known as a generous, kind, and charitable person. I almost always share what I have without a second thought, and don't mind going without something if it means someone else gets it. However, my family has a strict rule where if someone buys something with their own money, outside what everyone contributes to the family groceries and bills, it is theirs only. Meaning, if you want some, you have to ask and wait for the owner of said item to share. Thankfully, my family is also largely super picky, so 99% of what I buy myself in regards to meals, snacks, and treats remains 100% mine, and I never have to worry about someone, my brother and his revolving door of girlfriends, swiping it or accidentally eating it. That said, I always offer them something when I'm making it for myself anyway so that nobody can say I'm greedy. As you can guess, the answer is always, no, I don't like that. While I'm not picky, I am autistic, which means texture issues, and due to a string of bad luck health-wise a few years ago, some of my previously loved foods and drinks no longer agree with me, or there are super specific, these ones only flavors and brands. The snack/juice in question this time are berry-flavored Pop-Tarts, as all other flavors make my mouth feel like puke, and a very specific, I tried it on a whim and liked it, brand of apple juice. All apple juice besides this one tastes like puke to me because of health issues. So when they come into the house, it's obvious they're bought by and for me and my lunches for work, moving night, whatever. And I know for a fact my brother, 21, and his current girlfriend, 17, hate these flavors and that juice. However, when I came home from work and running errands on Saturday, I noticed an entire box of Pop-Tarts was gone from my shelf in the pantry. Weird, as I hadn't opened a box yet. I then turned and saw that a whole bottle of juice was missing as well. There's no reason an entire 2-liter jug would go missing unless someone had sticky fingers. I texted my mom to ask if maybe my grandmother had stopped by. I often bought extra snacks just to give to her, so it wasn't unheard of for my mom to give her something and then to replace it. If that was the case, no harm done. But when she responded, I saw red. No, my grandmother had not been by. Instead, my brother and his newest girlfriend had apparently gotten high or drunk and raided the pantry. They have their own shelf, so why would anybody question or pay any real attention to what they took? He has his Pop-Tarts, and the drink she likes is identical in color and labeled to my juice. I found the empty bottle, box, and wrappers in the trash out by the fire pit. I asked them why they'd taken my snacks that they didn't like rather than their own, which were right at the entry to the pantry versus mine being at the back to prevent mix-ups. My brother shrugged and told me, "You're being so greedy and childish, just take a jug or box from our shelf to replace it. We just needed something to sober us up." It was at that moment I realized the girlfriend was holding a sick bucket, and it dawned on me that they had used my snacks to force themselves to throw up so they'd get sober faster. I decided I was done talking, and immediately went into petty revenge mode. You see, since neither of them work, I often buy their snacks, or communal ones when I go shopping. But the "I bought it, it's mine" rule still applies when their greed pops up. You see, we all love iced tea, and recently some flavors which usually can't be found popped up on shelves, so I grabbed several jugs. 2 each, one for me, and they said they'd split theirs. I asked my dad for some old boxes and to borrow his good tape that he uses at work. He was confused, but when I told him what I was doing, he happily agreed. The first thing I did was put my share into the more secure boxes, tape them up, and put them in the garage. Did I mention I also love donating things to those who need them, especially the food bank? I put all their Pop-Tarts and drinks into boxes, taped them up, and stuck a note addressing the boxes to our local food bank with their names on it. My father then very kindly gave me a ride to their secure drop-off bin. Once something goes in, the only way to get it out is for someone at the food bank to unlock the bin. I also put their cell numbers on the note to allow them to be thanked for their kind donation. By the time we got back home, they were going ballistic and trying to tell the food bank that they had not donated anything and wanted their goods back. Once they realized it wasn't going to happen, my brother went to our mom and complained to her. She looked at my father and I, asking if it was true. I simply smiled and handed her the receipt for my last shopping haul, clearly showing that I'd bought every crumb and drop myself. She looked it over, her eyes flashing with enough malice to send a bull moose fleeing, and said, OP bought it, and if they chose to donate it? Oh well. My brother is still not talking to me, and his girlfriend cut her visit, she was here for his birthday, short. Oh well. If you're also here on AITA, I posted last summer about my brother and his last girlfriend stealing my food to the point I had to lock it in the garage. The only reason the Pop-Tarts and juice weren't already out there was because they're more daily snacks. So it would have been a pain in the butt to constantly have to run out there to get my snacks for work, movies, or whatever. But they're out there now, and that's where they stay. This story already was a whopper when it started out with 21 and 17 getting high and drunk. Needless to say though, if they can't respect your stuff, stop buying them stuff, flat out. Our next story is Mary D-Bag. Dated a man and it was great, until I found out he was married and I was gutted. This was back when Craigslist had a personal section. After, I cried myself dry. I was pissed. So I went to the M for M section and posted as a top looking for a bottom and left the married dude's phone number along with a request for pictures of bumholes. He had several resumes out in the world and couldn't change his number. I still chuckle about the idea of him getting picture after picture and being unable to change his number. I'm just imagining the wife sees the phone and realizes that they're cheating not because they were dating OP, but because they're getting pictures of people on Craigslist's you know what. This next story is Kevin and Karen and the Cat Tower. We recently bought a new cat tower. We have 5 cats who play hard, and the old tower was definitely showing use. The cats had torn up the carpet and sisal, vomited in one of the cubes, and decapitated the hanging mouse whose name is Earl, because why not? We set up the new tower, and after asking around to our friends, couldn't find anyone who wanted it. So we took it out to the curb to get rid of it. Large trash pickup was coming, so we figured if anyone wanted it, they would have plenty of time to grab it before trash pickup. In our neighborhood, as long as the item is not on the curb for more than a week, you won't get cited for having trash in your yard. No big deal, right? Oh no, it's a big deal because Karen and Kevin have decided they want the tower. I work from home, but my office is in the back of my house. We have a Ring camera, and around 10 a.m. one morning, the doorbell rings. I'm in a meeting with my boss, so I check the app, see that I don't know who these people, Kevin and Karen, are, and go back to my meeting. About 45 minutes later, the doorbell rings again. Now I'm out of my meeting, and since I'm expecting packages, I check the app, see that it's the delivery guy, and then head out front to grab my packages off the porch. I hear the notification going off on my phone as I'm opening the door, and there stands Kevin and Karen with my packages and the cat tower. Kevin is holding my packages. I say, "Can I help you?" Kevin says, "We're interested in the cat tower." I say, "Go for it. It's been left out for large trash. You can have it." "May I have my packages, please?" Karen says, "The carpet and the sizzle on the tower's torn. I'm going to need you to fix that before we take the tower, and there's vomit on it. That needs to be cleaned as well." I said, "I'm not going to fix anything on the tower. We're throwing it away. If you want the tower, take the tower. If not, it'll be picked up later this week with large trash. Now, may I please have my packages?" Kevin, obviously realizing I'm not concerned at all about the state of the cat tower, "Well, we still want the cat tower. I'm just going to leave it on your porch, and we'll come back with our truck this weekend and pick it up." He's still holding my darn packages. I said that won't work for us. See, we're trying to get rid of the tower and I don't want it on my porch, which is why it's on the curb. So if you want the tower and you aren't going to take it right now, I'm not going to hold it for you. Please give me my packages. About this time, my phone started ringing and I needed to get back to work, but I wasn't going to leave without my packages. Just as I'm about to get angry with these people, my retired military grizzled biker-looking neighbor pulls up in his pickup truck. He's a big pussycat but is very protective of us and especially our 2 daughters. My neighbor calls over to me and starts heading over to where we're standing on my porch. I guess Kevin got nervous, so at that point he shoved my packages at me and then said, "Well, just leave the tower on the porch and we'll pick it up when we can." Yeah, that's not going to work for me. And when Kevin and Karen walk off, I turned to my neighbor and asked him to help me carry the darn cat tower back down to the curb. A little while later, I had to run an errand, and when I got back, the stupid cat tower was back on my porch. Y'all, what the absolute stupid heck? My kid, female 19, got back from class a little while later and asked why the cat tower's back on the porch. I told her the story, she rolled her eyes and groaned, and I went back to work. About 30 minutes later, she came into my office laughing. I said, "What did you do?" She said, "Took the cat tower back down to the curb." I said, "How? That thing is heavy as heck." She said, "It was really easy once I took it apart and put all the hardware in this Ziploc bag that accidentally fell into the trash can with the used cat litter. So if Kevin and Karen want the cat tower, it's still available, but they'll have to go dumpster diving for the hardware." First of all, OP's kid is extremely advanced and smart for doing something like that. Second of all, it definitely either comes down to this smart idea or you just straight up call the cops for trespassing or whatnot, because this is unacceptable. Our next story is gas rewards. I only had a bar of soap in my hand at the supermarket, and as I headed towards the 12 items or less line, a Karen with a half-full cart sped up and swooped in front of me, banging my arm with the front corner of the cart. No apology. As she was putting her items on the conveyor belt, I started counting out loud. 1, 2, 3, just to make a point. A small petty revenge. Around the time I hit 20, a woman joined the line behind me, saw what I was doing, and she began counting with me. Kinda like a two-part harmony that ended at 31. Karen ignored us, but then there was an item that didn't scan with the proper price, so the cashier had to page for a price check. Another 2 minutes went by until the kid came back with a barcode for the cashier. When the cashier announced the total, Karen realized that her loyalty number wasn't in and told the cashier it needed to be there because I used the gas rewards. When the cashier asked for her phone number, I pulled out my phone and typed it in to save it. The woman behind me, who had been counting with me, asked me in a whisper if I were planning on giving Karen a call. She started laughing when I told her I was planning on going to the gas station and using the phone number for the gas rewards. Here would be the petty revenge. I checked out and went straight to the pumps, entered the customer's phone number for the gas rewards, and got a 40-cent per gallon discount on my gas that day. Maybe I'm dumb and I don't understand how these loyalty reward programs work, but wouldn't that not actually affect the lady at all? Like, wouldn't that just be OP piggybacking off of her rewards and probably even contributing to it because they spent money? Like, is there a limit? Can you only do it once a day or only get so much off, like, in a certain time frame? But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another awesome revenge story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.